What's going on YouTube? How you guys doing today? I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend and you are having an even better June so far. So before we get started, as usual, please like and subscribe. Again, I am growing my channel. I am having such a good time getting to know all of you guys, letting you guys get to know me, and sharing my commentary with you guys on everything fitness, travel, pop culture, reality TV, etc. Okay? So today I wanted to talk to you guys about something a little bit different and kind of just share my personal testimony on something that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, and hopefully this will help, some of you guys that have experienced the same things that I have experienced as it pertains to flying, and just kind of give you guys some strategies to overcome some things, okay? So let me just give you some background, okay? Throughout, I would say half of my life, or more than half of my life, have had this almost debilitating fear of flying. I'll tell you where it stems from. When I was in college, I had a terrible experience on a flight. I was flying from Virginia from Virginia to Las Vegas. I had a connection in Dallas, and prior to this, you guys, I didn't have any fear of flying. I would jump on planes. Oh, it's good, whatever, right? And so, but this particular flight, I remember it like it was yesterday. When I was flying, I want to say I was asleep as well. And you know how, during the flights, the flight attendants they'll come up and down the flights with their carts and bring you water, food, whatever, ask what you want. So in the middle of the flight literally just dropped out of nowhere, and I'm talking for a good 15 seconds. Stuff is flying everywhere. Stuff is coming out of like the overhead bin compartments, and the carts with the flight attendants have stuff was all over the place. And I always gauge like how the flight is going by how the flight attendants' faces look. So when this happened, of course, we're all jolted out of our, just out of our seats, just like, whoa, what the hell's going on? And I'm looking at the flight attendant, the one that was in the aisle, and she looks terrified. And so I'm like, oh my God. So, automatically it stops maybe after 10, 15 seconds. And what also scared me is it took the pilot like 10 minutes to come on the intercom and tell us what was going on. So the pilot came on the intercom and was, we're all terrified. I'm like, oh Lord, this is the big one. My life is over. So, we're all screaming and scared. And so the pilot comes on the intercom, and the pilot was like, I apologize, everyone. I had to make, a short turn because another plane flew in whatever the zone was. I apologize, whatever. So after that, the flight was fine. But literally that situation sparked a fear in me like no other. And ever since then, I am 40 years old now. I might have been probably 20 or 21. But ever since then, I literally was terrified of flights. Like so bad where like my mouth would water, my palms the whole time I would fly, would be sweating. And so it just sparked a fear in me that had carried on with me up until I would say maybe 6 months ago. It would be so bad, like I would have like, my heart would beat out of my chest. And the worst part of the flights for me would be the takeoff and the landing. The turbulence in between would be terrible, but the takeoff and the landing, like you couldn't have told me every time I took off and landed, we weren't gonna crash. Like that's just, how debilitating this was for me. And so I feel like even after that just sparked, anytime I would fly, anytime there was turbulence, I could never sleep on flights. Anytime there was turbulence, my heart would beat, drastically. And literally through the whole flight, I remember every flight, really, really sweaty palms. And so, it just started to take a toll on my life because I am from the West Coast. I live on the East Coast now. And so, those flights home would be, 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hours, depending. And so one of the strategies that I would try to do, because remember I said that the takeoff and the landing would be the worst part of the flight for me, I would try to like make sure I always found direct flights. No matter where I was going, if I couldn't find direct flights, I wouldn't go. But as we know, especially in this climate, that's not always realistic. Depending on where you're going, you're not always going to get a direct flight, especially if you're flying out of the US. You know, it's not as realistic to always get a direct flight. So yeah, it started to take over my life so badly that I just would be almost sick before I would have to take flights. And as I've gotten older, you know, in my career now, there was a part, I would say a span of like 6 or 7 years throughout my career where I flew a lot for work. You know, I would have to go to different outreach events. I would have to do audits and stuff like that. And I would always be flying, and it would just, I mean, I can't even express to you guys how hard this would be for me to actually function. Like before the flight, like the day before, thinking about the flight, during the flight, it was so bad. And the worst part, outside of the takeoff and the landing, for me was being in the smaller planes, like the bigger planes, you know, that seat, you know, more than 60, 70 people. Those weren't as bad, but you know, depending on if it's a short 30, 40 minute flight, they might throw you one of them like 20, 30 seaters. And child, don't even think about me getting on no private jet or anything. Like that just wasn't something that I was gonna do because I was just so scared. So anyway, that's just some of what I have gone through with my fear of flying. Like this has been a legit, like clinical type of thing. So let me just tell you guys what has worked for me. And now I really started realizing in the last, I would say 6 to 9 months, like, wow, Venus, you are really so much, like, I almost want to say I'm like 90% there, y'all, like 95% there as far as just being completely comfortable with flying. At the end of the day, one thing I had to realize is flying truly is the most safe form of transportation. It's safer than the train. And I jump on trains all the time and I don't feel uncomfortable. Safer than a train. It's safer than riding a bike. It's safer, of course, than driving. You know, it's safer than being on a boat. Like flying really, really is super safe. So that's one thing. Like you have to keep that in perspective. The statistics on flying, the likelihood of something happening is so minimal. And so flying really, really is safe. So that's one thing. Number two, what really helped me, and I'm gonna be honest, I am not a proponent for you know, medication or drugs, but I did have to get Xanax for certain flights. And what it did for me was it just calmed me. It calmed me down. It helped me to just kind of relax and just be kind of in a state of euphoria. You know, not a high feeling or anything like that, but for me, a lot of the anxiety that I was having with flying was just specifically the takeoff. So just kind of having that relaxed feeling of just like, okay, positive thoughts, you know, positive inner thoughts, knowing that, you know, if you have, you know, believe in the Lord and you have faith that the Lord is going to take care of you, blessing the flight, blessing the pilots, the flight attendants, that everything is going to go positively. So having some type of medication to just kind of ease your nerves, I don't want any of you guys to feel uncomfortable or embarrassed if you have to do that, because again, having a fear of flying is a real thing. And unfortunately, it affects so many of us. So if it's so bad where you're similar like myself, definitely go see your doctor about getting some type of medication to help ease your nerves. Because if you want to get around, you got to fly. I mean, it's not realistic that if you want to go from New York to California that you're going to be driving. You know what I mean? That's just not realistic. So flying is like an everyday part of our lives that we have to kind of adapt to. And so don't be embarrassed if you definitely need help. Okay, the third thing that has helped me, and I know it sounds counterintuitive or counterproductive, but I would say the last 3 years, I have been flying a lot because I love to travel. And honestly, some of the best ways to get over your fear of flying is just to fly. And again, I know it sounds crazy, But when you fly, you kind of realize different patterns if you're flying frequently, right? Like for instance, for me, I noticed that on any flight, if you're going through clouds, you're gonna feel a little turbulence. And I think that that's just something that you notice, as you fly more. So, making sure that you're flying more, you start to notice patterns like, okay, when the plane goes through clouds, I'm gonna feel turbulence. So, it helps you to relax. Like nothing is happening, but this is just like par for the course of what happens when you fly. So, flying through the clouds, you're gonna feel turbulence. You know that usually when you take off, the plane is gonna like dip or, make turns, whatever. And you just realize, it can be scary, but it's kind of like, okay, I know that this is gonna happen on takeoff and landing, that, the plane has to go in certain directions, it has to turn. This is not anything that I need to be, super, super nervous or scared about. So that's another thing. What is something else, again, as you're landing, there's certain parts of the landing where it's going to be possibly a little more turbulent than not, but it's just like, this is just a part of flying. And I think the more that you get out there and expose yourself to actually being on a plane, the more you realize that, okay, this is what is going to happen during this duration of the flight. This is going to happen as we're descending. And as you fly, these are more things that you notice. So I know that it sounds scary, but I do believe that you have to face your fear and fly more, if your money permits, in order to help you to get over it. Another thing that has helped me is reading during the flights. Bring a book, bring your headphones, something to kind of help and take you, your mind off as much as you can, because again, like that fear of flying is so real. But reading during flights with headphones, reading a good book, it definitely helps to relax you. So you want to do anything that you can do to kind of get you as relaxed as possible. Now, I don't recommend like drinking a lot. Drinking, sometimes drinking can lower your inhibitions and relax you, but like being drunk on a flight and then you have a fear of flying, I don't think that that's a good combination. So I don't necessarily recommend that. If this is something that is really bad, the way mine was, I definitely recommend talking to your general, care practitioner and telling them and talking about options to help you, ease your anxiety the right way. So I don't recommend drinking, but yeah, like these, some of those are the strategies that I can give you guys to help you get through and get better with flying. And some people try to minimalize it. Like a lot of my friends have teased me like, oh Lord, she's so scared of flying, or they don't want to sit next to me because they know I'm kind of like on edge. But it's a real thing, you guys. Like this is something that millions and millions of people all over the world are battling with. And again, it can be so scary. It can be so scary that if for hours of your life, the whole time you're just worried and scared that you're gonna die or the plane's gonna drop. Like that's no way to live, especially if you are flying more and more. So I just implore you and encourage you guys to try some of these things when you're flying. And I hope that this video helps some of you guys to recognize if you're dealing with this, and to get help and to try some of this stuff. So hopefully it can help you have a better flying experience, because I literally last night was thinking to myself like, dang, I kind of patted myself on the back because I'm proud of myself that I have gotten through this and I'm overcome it. And it just is encouraging me to get out there more and fly more and to explore the world. There's so much to see. And I hate to see you guys be afraid to do that because you're scared to get on a plane. Because it really is a beautiful experience to be able to travel the world and go to different places, experience different cultures without that fear of flying. So again, you guys, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to, comment below. And, I pray for you guys all in your healing and in your overcoming your fear of flying journey. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe, you guys, and have a wonderful day. And I hope that, again, that this video will help some of you guys get through your fear of flying like, I've been able to do. Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.